It's been quite a year. None of us anticipated what was going to be before us this year, but as council president, some real positive things come to mind. Just the resiliency of this congregation, that stick-to-itiveness, whatever comes our way, we're going to figure it out. We're going to do it together. Just in so many ways, both the staff, the leadership of the council, and the members themselves. There's been tremendous support financially. There's been support in outreach of, hey, where do you need help? I'm here, volunteering, and just the staff pivoting to whatever had to get done. So I feel very pleased with what's happened, and it's encouraged. We'll take on whatever comes our way as we move forward.
The pandemic hit and we didn't stop meeting. We just changed it. We went on to Zoom right away, and for instance, the senior high, even though I was a skeptic at the beginning of like, the first time logging on, is anyone even going to show up on the other end of this? And then people started showing up, and the little boxes started popping up, and you saw people's faces, and I thought, wow, we're doing this. I didn't know if we could, but we are, and we figured it out together. Having it be a community together, having kids, youth, engaging in it, buying into it, has been super helpful, because that time that we spend on Wednesday nights is just reinforcing this idea that we're doing this together. We're walking through this time of uncertainty together, and that's what we focus on Wednesday nights. And we've been able to keep a lot of the same stuff that we've been doing before the pandemic on Wednesday nights. For instance, we still play games, we still check in with each other, we still have a time of kind of listening to each other through a devotion or spiritual practice, and listening to God, and where is God moving in our life during this time. What have kids taught me during this time? I think the first thing that comes to mind is that we are more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. Here they are, week in, week out. They don't know if their school's going to be meeting in person. If they are right now, they don't know if it's going to be meeting in person next week or the week after. If they aren't, they don't know what 2 weeks from now brings them. That's life for a lot of us, but meeting with them on a weekly basis and hearing their stories of, I don't know what my activity is going to bring, I don't know what school's going to bring. It's hard. We name how hard that is, but I admire their ability to just kind of roll with it.
Part of the experience for our kids is having that positive community, and I think now with everything going on, it's a safe spot to come together, to ask questions, to have some laughter, and really around our values, and it's an important part of their experience. So it's been really a positive part of this whole spring, summer, and COVID right now. So it's a real anchor in their week.
And I'd add that we, I think, probably felt more connected even over the summer. Often our summer schedule is that we're at the lake or, away traveling. And even when we had the chance to do those things, we had the opportunity to connect via Zoom. It still has been a great thing for us to continue to be part of our routine.
Mount Olivet is such a unique community, and when I was first thinking about where to engage with this work, someone told me, where are you already deeply rooted? And all I could think was, I am deeply rooted at Mount Olivet. I have connections, I know people, I trust people, I know that my thoughts and actions can make a difference here. I don't have to start from square one. We already have a community here. And so the answer was really obvious for me. It was like, of course I'm going to be engaging with Mount Olivet. And I think our community, being a primarily white community, is a really special place to engage with this work, because our BIPOC community members are already so overwhelmed, and it is not their job to educate us on what we're supposed to know and supposed to be doing, and it's our job to educate each other through this new journey. And knowing that this was a space of primarily white folks really allowed me to engage differently than I would in other communities where it is not primarily white folks. And so that was very clear to me that Mount Olivet was the place to be doing this work for me.
About 2 years ago this week, actually, my husband Wes ended up in the emergency room and soon after was diagnosed with grade 4 glioblastoma, which is a primary brain cancer. And after that, we kind of went on the cancer journey, having the normal standard of care. He had 2 surgeries, chemo, radiation, wore an Optune device, and coming around to summertime of 2019, things were going okay for us. He still had his personality. He, had his bursts of humor. Things seemed to be going all right during the summer. That being said, he never really had a clean scan. So all of the MRIs always showed a tumor or tumors, and that they were growing or progressing. And so in July of 2019, he had his 3rd brain surgery. And that was done in preparation for a clinical trial. He was a drummer, a self-taught drummer, and was in a band. He loved music, and luckily music was like the last thing that was taken from him. So he was able to play his last show at the end of February. Everyone got to come and see him, give him, hugs and well wishes, and 2 weeks later, he was in residential hospice, and 8 days after that, he passed away. It was a very hard 17 months. When we were going through it, it felt like it was taking forever, and now I look back on it, and it looks like kind of a quick blink. There was a lot of grief throughout the process, not just when he passed away, but there was a lot of grief of loss, losing, your partner, your marriage, your plan for the rest of your life. Your kids are losing their father. So there was a lot of grief that happened in those 17 months while he was sick. I know a lot of people struggle with why did this happen to Wes? He was a good man, a good person, a good Christian, a believer. Why did this happen? And that's not a question I ever really struggled with. A lot of the happiness that did came because of Mount Olivet and our connections here. People reached out and supported us the whole time. Wes's band, that was a group that was born of friendship and born, from faith, because Wes and Mike met here at church, and once Wes found out Mike was a musician, it was all over. They were in a band and they had it going, and so one of the things that brought him the greatest joy, kind of came from Mount Olivet.
I know full well 2021 is still going to be a challenging year. And I also know through all this we found new opportunities. So we've learned how to work with technology. We've learned how to do things in a different way. I'm very hopeful in what we're going to be doing in that next year.
I remember walking by our son's Zoom meeting and laughter and connection. So even though it's not in person, it's still there. It's part of the routine. All of our kids at different parts, connecting with their small group leaders and feeling that safe connection. And it gives me hope that they really know that this is an important part of what we're doing, that even though we're not together, it can still be a really inspiring and hopeful experience. So I think they feel a stronger community and a really good connection.
I do have hope that, I see how people lifted me up in our family up in our time of need. And so I do see hope, especially when I see people taking care of each other and treating each other with decency. Not because they share something, something similar between them, but because, we're all human and we're all in this together. So I do have hope when I think about that.
I find hope and I think a lot of others do in our ministry right now, that we're figuring this out. We're trying new things. Some things don't work, some things do, but we're doing it together, and we're naming that together, and we're giving each other grace, and it's just a healthy environment to be in, especially during this time.
This year keeps crashing in with change. We have been brought to new places that we could not have expected. We have worshiped online in our cars and on walks and in our homes and outside rather than a church building. We have not been able to experience faith in the ways we have wanted, and the veil of inequity has been pulled away to see the brokenness of this world. And through every day of this most difficult year, God has been present, holding the world with mercy and calling us to care for each other, using both our innovations and missteps, connecting us to each other, making space for community even when we have been apart. The Holy Spirit is still creating. A new future is being revealed. Our mission at Mount Olivet is finding our place in God's unfolding story. That place was more challenging to find this year, yet we found it together. Last year, as you invested in Mount Olivet, you did not know what this year would hold, but you trusted that our combined generosity would be used to make God's love and hope known in whatever circumstances we encountered. The stories you have heard are some of the many stories that speak to the impact of Mount Olivet and our community. The future continues to be written at Mount Olivet. The story is unfolding. I'm sure this next year will be remembered in our history as a time that pushed us to new places and people, where God's love for the world will be proclaimed and revealed in a way that only Mount Olivet could do. Your investment financially and with your committed presence is needed now more than ever. We are funding our future and our continued story, trusting that God is with us wherever we go. Thank you for giving with all of your heart in this next year.